All right, Monday I made a point on radio with Tyler Ivins and Will West that I don't know that a lot of people are considering. Everyone is looking forward to revenue sharing, which is expected to kick in later this year, although it keeps getting delayed, but everyone thinks it's coming. In fact, you've got some schools that are already spending their cash like it's going to be here. All right, well, a team like UT could have $20.5 million in revenue sharing and then another $15 to $20 million in NIL, which is where the Texas number came from a couple weeks ago. We talked about $35 to $40 million. Okay, Texas isn't the only one that could be spending like that. Well, for many teams out there, they had no NIL to begin with, though. So you're sitting there thinking, well, we got NIL plus revenue sharing, we're going to be up here. True enough. But let's say a team like Georgia State or Vanderbilt, very little NIL to speak of. Well, now they're going to have revenue sharing. And you can say to me, yeah, but their revenue sharing, they don't make as much as Tennessee, it won't be equal. No, it's not. Doesn't have to be. Here's the problem, though. You've got somebody else at the buffet. Somebody else is now going to be at the buffet, and they've got cash that they haven't had in the past. So if you've got a guy, and I had someone get in touch with me this week and make the point that this is already happening. When you look at a guy, what's his name? Joel Wyatt from Webb, four-star receiver, defensive back. Georgia's after him. His top three schools, ahead of Georgia, mind you, LSU, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Why? Vanderbilt's never had money to throw around, really. So they're throwing big money at this guy. I'll give you a crazy example. Here's what I'm talking about. Let's say you're Appalachian State University, and you got $5 million. That's all you got. No NIL revenue sharing, but you got $5 million. And there's a kid coming out of Bryson City, hotshot quarterback named Heath Schuler in this day and age, a new Heath Schuler. And you said, we're going to give you all $5 million every year because one guy, quarterback, can get attention to us, can change our program forever. Tennessee going to offer quarterback $5 million? Alabama? Georgia? I don't know. But suddenly it puts Appalachian State, in theory, in a position where they could go steal one guy. Are you ever going to get out-recruited by Middle Tennessee State if you're Tennessee? No. Could they go pick off one guy? Could Georgia State pick off one guy from Georgia? I realize it's unlikely, but it's going to happen to somebody at some point. I guarantee it. It's just one more thing to think about. Is it a concern for you, Bob Hodge?
In a sense, and it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison or apples to pears. Pick your favorite fruit to go with an apple. Travis Hunter.
I was about to go there.
Was the number 2 recruit in the country. Some people thought he was number 1, was committed to Florida State, and goes to Jackson State. Okay. Did that lift Jackson State some? Yes, it did. Did it really hurt Florida State when you lost probably the top recruit in your class? Yes, it did. So do you see more of those kind of things? And I think the Memphises of the world, that's where you could get hurt. A program that's big enough that Tennessee's already afraid to play them. Well, now all of a sudden they pull in a couple of guys. Helps them, hurt you. I think it's a real problem.
Yeah, and you don't have to have
real could be.
It's
problem.
a concern. Yeah, you don't have to have Deion Sanders to lure a guy
Correct.
in anymore. It
Exactly.
can just be the cash
money.
because some of these schools are going to have money they've never had to play with before. And if it can change your program by getting one guy that all of us, well, you know who did that? Who tried to make a big wave and change their fortunes by going after one guy and paying him huge? You did. Tennessee with Nico. Somebody else could do the same thing and say, we're in the game now. We just got this stud receiver, this stud quarterback. And if it's the guy you want, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I think where it may make the biggest differences is maybe at the lower end of the Power 4 ranks. I think the Mississippi States, the Cals, the teams like that are not on the national radar but have the money to be able to contribute maximum revenue sharing or whatever the allowed amount is, that's a big deal. So I think you've already seen some of those teams in the winter transfer portal window kind of spending that money ahead of time, promising that money in offers to players. I think they're very much looking forward to this money, more so than even SEC teams are, or top-end SEC teams. It's going to place an emphasis on SEC teams needing to go out and find other ways to get NIL. Yeah. If that clearinghouse is in place, you've got to find ways to get advertising deals set up. You've got to find ways to make money continue to flow in because leveling the playing field is a big difference.
And I hear a lot of conversations with basketball coaches and how much it's maybe going to impact basketball. I know we're talking a lot about football, but I think it's going to have the greatest discrepancy when you look at the smaller sports like basketball, where maybe you could play with, as I say, like 4 dogs. You pay one guy a lot, maybe the other 3 or so don't get as much money, so you don't get the same caliber of talent. You can go a lot further with maybe having 4 strong guys or 1 really strong guy. So I think that raises the floor for basketball maybe more than it does for football.
Well, I think you're also seeing a taste of this in basketball in terms of you just had the head coach at Maryland go to Villanova. And the reason is Villanova doesn't have to spread any NIL money, doesn't have to share any NIL money with football. He did it at Maryland. Maryland's going to spend more on football than they are basketball. Villanova isn't. They don't have. They got football, but it's Division what, FCS still, I think. So the lower end, you're right. It's going to be a bigger impact on the smaller schools. But if I just said that here, nobody's going to care. I think it could impact Tennessee.
Oh no, well no, I'm
I think
saying
there's going to be somebody, and you made the perfect point. Travis Hunter from Florida State. That was about Deion, but you're now going to be able to see a Jackson State
it
with
was
cash.
about publicity, and he got NIL money at Jackson
Yes, he did.
State
Yeah.
that most guys wouldn't have gotten. I mean, he had hoodie deals, I think a jewelry deal, all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
So, So, I
Good
mean, the
job.
impact, once again, Florida State's the one I think got torpedoed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, I was saying those types of schools could then hurt programs like Tennessee, like Alabama, like Georgia. You could have a deal where you would never expect a Mississippi State or an Arkansas to win a recruiting battle. Suddenly they might be able to. So
Well, and I also think
Vanderbilt.
I think a Mississippi State could lose to a Southern Miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a Georgia Tech would be more likely than a Georgia to lose to Georgia State. But you're now going to be able to see that because Georgia State's going to have some money they've never had before.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. People continue to ignore. Instead of having 80 schools that have any cash at all, now you're going to have 130. They may have small cash, but depending on how they use it, it can still be a thorn in your side a little bit.
And if-
it can be a mosquito that'll bite you
And if
quickly.
nothing else, it drives up the price of these guys.
Yep.
And I just don't think people have
you got
unlimited
you
money.
got a point? You've sat there quietly.
Yeah, the example of Travis Hunter is the big one, and I do agree that it's the bottom of the Power Four that would benefit the most because they not only have now this money, increased money, but they have the conference, they have other things to sell in addition to that. When the big schools are now, they're not recruiting just the best players, they're recruiting the highest rated players for the right money, and those kind of trickle down, I think, to those guys and those other schools.